How's it going, guys? Awesome Mail here, BRRRR.com. And if you are new to wholesaling real estate, people keep asking this question, wholesaling real estate, how do I get started if I'm a beginner? If I don't know anything about wholesaling real estate or getting started as a real estate investor with wholesaling, this video is for you. This special class is for you. So today we're going to go over 25 terms and acronyms that you need to know to get started. We've also got some other really cool stuff. We're going to go over a bonus, what we call the badass wholesaler, 7 steps to building a 6-figure wholesaling business that makes you 6 figures a month to go from 0 to 6 figures a month. We're going to go over those 7 steps. Even if you're starting from 0, we're going to go all over all that today, and we're going to go over the 25 terms for a beginner. So if you're totally starting from new, this is for you. This class is for you. So real estate 101 for real estate for beginners and newbies, people who've never done anything before. This will help you get started and to take you to advanced levels. We're going to go over the biggest mistakes to avoid, how to make sure that you never lose, that no matter what happens, you don't risk any credit and any income, and you make sure that you hit the ground running and that you win, always winning. And then the badass wholesaler, like I said, groundbreaking 7-point strategy to build a 6-figure monthly business. Folks on our team have developed and invented these things. These things are just amazing. It's just really pretty cool stuff that they're doing. You really want to take part of it and really go out and make pretty amazing things happen. So let's get started. The 25 terms. Let's get started. Number 1. Okay, before we get into terms, and actually it's not 25. I think it's 27. It's more than 25. So it's under promising, over delivering already, right? But first, let's understand what is wholesaling. If you've never done this, this is something you should understand. You should have a pretty good, pretty firm grasp on. So investors buy low and sell high, right? That's how they make money. Well, a wholesaler buys really low and then sells low. So here's pretty much how a standard or pretty house works. The seller has basically 2 main options. The seller does it for sale by owner. They put their house up for sale by themselves. And if they do that, they find a buyer or renter. That's how they sell. Now, the other option is that the seller goes to a realtor, then the realtor finds a buyer or a renter, right? Well, off market or ugly houses, the seller has 2 main options. If it's not ready for a regular buyer or a regular renter, if it's not a pretty house, they basically have 2 options. One is that the seller can go to an investor, and then the investor goes to a buyer or renter, right? Remember, keep in mind this last person here, the buyer or renter. This is important because ultimately that's a person who determines the value of any piece of real estate. It's always determined by the end user. So with a seller, whether they have a pretty house or a house that needs work, the end user ultimately determines what happens, but you have to fix it up to get it to the end user. If the seller does the work, then they can go for sale by owner or list with the realtor. If they don't do the work, then they got to find an investor. They go to an investor, the investor buys low, and then they sell high. They sell it on the market. Now here's where wholesaling comes into play. You step in right there, right? You talk to the seller, so it goes seller, wholesaler, and then you move the property to the investor, then the investor moves it to the buyer or the renter. So again, the investor's buying low, but the investor has to go out and buy low, sell high. You buy really low and then sell low to the investor. So there's enough spread for them to make sense. This is where this diagram here, this is where wholesaling falls in. It's important to know this because you should know what the investor, what's important to the seller, what's important to the realtor, the for sale by owner, or the investor, or the buyer renter. You should know the whole diagram here, where things fall, so that you can be the best person in this transaction. You can make sure that everyone is better off as a result of working with you. And later we're going to come back to the buyers and renters and why you really want to focus on them no matter where you're at, because it makes you a much better wholesaler, a much better business person, a much better contact to have. Okay, so let's go over our terms now. Number 1, ARV, after repair value. So when the property is fixed up, this tells you what the property will be worth when the property is rehabbed and brought to market ready condition. Remember, we have to get it ready for a buyer or renter. So when it is 100% ready for a buyer or renter, how much will this be worth? That's the after repair value, ARV. That's number 1. Number 2, LTV, loan to value. This is a measure of how big the loan is compared to the value of the property. So if a property is worth or has an ARV of $100,000 and the lender will finance up to 80%, for example, the LTV ready condition, they'll give them 80%. That means they'll get a loan for up to $80,000. If the lender will lend up to 70%, that means they'll get a loan of $70,000. Okay, so the ARV is the after repair value, LTV is the loan to value. This number is used by investors, banks. You should always know what this number is. Go through our BRRRR class for more on how the buy and refinance, all that stuff works. This number, this ratio is really important in that scenario. It's really important in all scenarios. You want to know what the LTV is because most people have a limit of how much they want to be into a deal, and you should know that going into every deal. Number 3, MOA, maximum allowable offer. I barely know her. What this means is that you can take, don't throw, you know what? You won't believe this. Whenever I tell a joke, no matter how funny it is, whether it was Van, whether it was Randall, or now it's Shannon, the funnier the joke is, the more likely it is that they throw shit at me. Can you believe that? I get no respect. No respect, I tell you. No respect. No respect. I can go all day with those. No respect. I get no respect. When I was little, my family used to move around a lot, but I always found them. If it wasn't for pickpockets, I'd have no sex life. No respect, I tell you. No respect. My dad used to carry around the picture of the kid who came with his wallet. No respect. Okay, so MOA, this is the maximum number. This is the standard number. If you add the rehab and the purchase and the closing costs, you want to be less than 70 to 80% of the LTV. This is normally going to be the case. Sometimes it'll be more or less, depending on some markets are a little bit different. Investors are willing to pay more. But this number tells you the maximum that you're going to offer on any property. It's a really important number to know. The numbers are going to vary based on investor demand and market price. prices, but there is a range. You want to know what that range is from realtors, buyers, and everyone involved so that you know what it is going into any deal. And when you train people, by the way, especially when we train people, we do not tell them what these numbers are. We just get an idea of what they think a good deal would be and then have them do the math. Once they go through a few conversations and do the math, they get a much better sense of what they should say in the conversation. But also, it's amazing how people who don't know what they're doing can find really good deals. Number 4, buying closing costs. This is really important. When you buy a property, any property, you're going to have closing costs. These are all the costs of closing that transaction. There's buying and or selling, but right now we're just talking about buying. These buying closing costs, you need to know what these are, how much it costs. You want to be able to protect your investors and all the people that you work with. So many deals go belly up because these costs are not done right. Quick number to use, you can use 6, 7, usually 7 to 8% is what you want to use. That's going to be for closing costs and for the cost of, anytime you're going to buy a property. When we talk about agent fees and or closing costs, we include that. It's a quick number you can use right off the top of your head. 7 to 8%. It's a good, safe number in most markets. Obviously, sometimes you're going to change that if you're on the coast, but nearly in the Midwest or any mid-range or normal market, even high-end markets, you can be around that 7 to 8%. Make sure you get this right. Buying closing costs, you want to know what they are in every market, and you want to be able to factor them in. And then you have number 5 is holding costs. These are also really important to get right. These are the costs that you incur from buying. When you buy the property, everything from when you buy that property, you have those buying closing costs we just talked about, that everything from that moment up until you have it ready for a renter or a buyer. This includes the rehab, the monthly payments, the days on market, every cost you want to include in this. If your investors borrowing money, if they have costs of that borrowing money, then they have monthly payments there. And anytime you have monthly payments, you have weekly and daily payments. That's how you should look at it. This thing is just bleeding money. You've got to move it quickly. The holding costs are super important, that you convey that and you communicate that with your investors, that everyone understands going into it, that they have both buying and closing costs. This is really, really important. All right, number 6, selling closing costs. So we have buying, we have holding, now we have selling closing costs. These are the costs when you turn around and actually sell or rent or refinance a property. Remember, we're always going to move it to a buyer or renter. And when you do that, these are the costs that you're going to have. So this includes concessions, discounts, percent of asking price. Sometimes a property, it's 100%. It's not going to get 100% of asking price usually, but actually sometimes it can be above that. In some really hot markets at hot times, people just offer 2, 3, 4, 5, even 10% above market value, but usually it's going to be below market value. There's going to be a little bit of negotiating that goes on, and this is what you consider in those closing costs, in those selling closing costs. Also, after like realtors and title companies and stuff like that, anytime a deal falls apart, it costs more money because it costs more time. So after all of these costs are added, these 3 costs, the buying, holding, and selling costs, then you have what would be considered your profit or your gross profit or the profit for your investor. And you may be thinking, well, I'm not doing that. I'm just wholesaling the deal. You want to know these numbers and go through these numbers with every one of your investors. This is a difference between someone who does some deals every now and then and someone who just everyone's stuck to him. Everybody just wants to keep working with that same guy, that same wholesaler, because he does such a great job with their people. That's why you want to know these numbers. And once you get good at this, once you get good at putting these deals together, you'll be able to do this easy breezy. You'll be able to do this as easy as I sleep, not to brag, but I can do it with my eyes closed. And that's how easy this will be to put together. Be a transaction engineer, transaction scientist, a social architect. By the way, go to the SA class, WeBuildEmpires.com. There's a lot of great stuff there. Number 7, all-in costs. This is adding 3 main costs: buying, holding, and selling. You add this up, and these are going to be your all-in costs. This should be under a certain percentage of the ARV. So if it's going to be 20% below or 30% below or whatever number we have to be below our ARV, you want to make sure you get that number and that you stay beneath it. You should do this math with all your investors. Make sure they know what the all-in cost should be, and then as you're doing the transaction, walk them through it. Make sure that they stay beneath that number and that we constantly keep an eye on that scoreboard. We want to be below that ARV. Add up all our costs, and we need to be below our ARV. This is what you want to be able to do right. If you want to do some of our golden flips, what we call our gold flips, the 30, 50, 100 grand flips, this is how we do that. This is how we get all that done. You got to do this the same way NASA organizes a party. You plan it. Don't throw that. See, this is what happens. My jokes are way too hilarious. And that was, was it the space stuff? I got plenty of space stuff. Space was cool before it even mattered. Come on, mattered? Really, come at me, bro. Comment me. I'm just saying, Jupiter recognize. Okay, number 9. We move on to number 9, or number 8, CMA and COMPs. Okay, so this is a competitive market analysis and comparable sales. This is what a realtor can do. It's usually done by a realtor for a seller to evaluate a property's value. Everything in the world is valued by how much things like it are worth, right? So whenever you want to know how much something is worth, find something like it or close as possible to it and see how much that's worth. And what's something worth? What someone else is willing to pay for it. That's what CMAs and COMPs do. A comparable sale, tells you basically what something like that sells. You need 1 or 2 or 3 of these. 3 is a good number at least. We judge everything by this. This is the entire how you know the property is worth something. You want to find good comps. We have a whole class on comps and how you want to use recency, sale, the actual closer to the date. Geographic location obviously is important, but date is also really important. For example, if you have a house that's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, you want to find other 2-bedroom, 1 bath. If you have a house with a garage and a basement, that's also super important. And things like that, things like a garage, basement, and backyard, these things make rentals really really easy, and they also make you want to make sure that you find, it's oranges and oranges. Don't compare apples and oranges. Find another property like that, and a realtor should be able to do this. Okay, so moving on to number 9. And by the way, I wasn't even going to say it. I did pretty well. I didn't even go to, I dropped the space stuff. I was going to say, how does a guy get a haircut on the moon? He clips it. No time for that. Number 9. This is why you need to get good realtors on your team. CRM, customer client relations manager. This is software. There's a whole bunch of programs that allow you to track leads, marketing campaigns, etc. There's many programs that do this, and there's a lot of good free options. The most important things, we have a whole bunch of other videos on this. You can watch those for more on this. The main thing is that you have conversations, and you engage in dialogue, and you get to the point where you're having your weekly email that people are open, they're ripping it up, they're ripping it open. I should say not ripping it up, they're ripping it open, and you're on their A pile. We all have an A pile, B pile, and C pile. The C pile is the trash, and the B piles I'll get to later. The A pile, this is like when people used to open physical mail. We do the same thing with our email. There's very few people. The smallest number of people that email you are the ones, as soon as you get an email from them, you open it up immediately. That's where you want to be. And when it comes to CMAs or handling clients and having good relationships, this is why it's so important that you get good realtors on your team. A lot of times you'll find realtors that are about as useful as a snooze button on a smoke alarm. But in a second, we're going to talk about a brilliant model, the Rolodex model. You'll see a way to avoid LCs and help other people avoid them too. And if and when you do come across, somebody that works, a realtor that works, or an agent that works about as well as an ashtray on a motorcycle, when you do come across an LC like that, you'll have the practices and policies enabled to transform them and get them to do badass stuff. And that's really what this is about. It's not just about finding great people or finding great deals or finding great stuff. It's about being able to create it. Create the extraordinary from the ordinary. This is something we talk about all the time. That's really what you want to do, to be able to take your business and create it subtractively, and then take your business and actually pick up other businesses, all while creating an impact, actually changing and improving lives in multiple different ways. That's what this stuff is all about. All right, number 10, EMD, earnest money deposit, good faith deposit. This money is used to show a buyer is serious. It's generally 1 to 10%. You want to make sure, talk to your title company and talk with your attorneys beforehand. We've explained how this works and how you never want to put money down on a property. Instead, there's ways to work around this, like a check or money that's held with your attorney. You can get around this, but with buyers and other people, you can use this to screen them and make sure that they're serious and that you can do the same thing that it's supposed to do, but you can also make sure that you take care of your investor. And if there is something that's off, that they're able to get their money back, and you can control it by controlling where that money goes. Nobody cares about the title company. People will say this sometimes, the seller wants to use this company, or the agent, the investor. No one cares. They just care about, getting the result, either the property or their money. The reason they're making a big deal about the title company is because you didn't build that relationship correctly. Eventually, everyone goes to where you tell them to go to. They go to this attorney, pick up your check. They go to that title company, get your property. And they'll do it when they know that you're gonna deliver. So one of the ways of avoiding this is to use that same money or the same deposit or the same picture of a check again and again, and use upon formal written acceptance is when the actual EMD is used. If you do use this, get 2 to 3 times as much from the investor immediately. This is something we have a lot of beginners do. So if you put down 500, make sure you get 1,000 or 1,500. So if something goes wrong, the seller gets their 500, but you also make money. And that would only be if something went really wrong, or if somebody, everyone should be happy with the way things went. Whatever the net result is, everyone should be happy. You need to take care of people. Okay, so don't do shady stuff like some people do and try to make money off of nothing, or try to do. A lot of people do this stuff. A lot of wholesalers. A lot of people teach wholesaling. They teach you how to get really shady stuff about earnest money and keeping it. Don't do that stuff. You want to make sure you're helping people. So the only way people walk away from a deal is if something on their end changed and they understand. Don't be weird about this. Number 11, the MLS, the multiple listing service. This is the service that realtors put properties on. This is their secret weapon. This is what moves properties more than anything else. Less than 10% of real estate properties that are listed are the realtor represents both the buyer and the seller. So it's the MLS that sells properties, not the realtors, and not their marketing campaigns or their 10-point, none of that stuff. They're, here's my 15-point marketing campaign. That stuff does not sell houses. It's just the MLS. So when somebody says that a house is listed, what they mean is that it's on the MLS. They have it listed with the realtor. They signed a contract, and that realtor is going to get paid 3 to 5 or whatever percent when the home sells. So they're not able to go around and just talk to any investor. Sometimes they'll do this. You want to make sure that when they say it's listed, that you have to clarify what they mean, or the relationship with their realtor. Is it actually on the market? Is it actually listed, or have they just talked to a realtor? And never go around the realtor. Always have them ask the realtor to call you and do a 3-way call. Make sure the realtor is in on everything. Some of the biggest problems you're going to have is if you piss off a realtor, especially if you don't have a license, they can create all kinds of problems for you. Be nice and talk to the realtor. Make sure you talk things through. Don't be a tough guy, especially if somebody calls you up barking like a real. Sometimes a realtor will call somebody up, a new investor, and the investor's so scared, doesn't know what to do. Don't fight him. Don't be nasty. When that bulldog comes barking, just give him a nice steak. Don't go in there barking back at him. Give them what they want. Give them a small victory. Be nice, learn something, and move on. Do not, I tell you, so many, I know at least, 50, 100, 150 investors who got in trouble because yes, technically you're right. You will do a better job. It's pretty easy. If you just use signs and go through my signs class and do stuff we talk about, you will do a better job than almost any realtor. Again, less than 10% move their listings. They don't know how to sell listings outside the MLS. It's really easy to outperform a realtor, but if you do that, they're not going to come to you and be like, oh, good job. Can you teach me that? Don't expect that response. It's going to be more like, how can I get this guy in trouble for making me look bad? That's often the result. So make sure you talk to him. You can still wholesale a listed house, by the way. We have videos on this. There's all kinds of ways to work with realtors. So just, talk to them. But this whole point here is to know what the MLS is and what listed means. When a seller says they have their house listed, or that you could just list it on the market. Remember that diagram. A seller has options if they want to make it pretty. A lot of times the sellers you're talking to, especially if you're wholesaling, are not going to want to make it pretty. They don't have the money and resources, and you should know they don't have many options. If they don't want to make it pretty, they have to basically move it to an investor or a wholesaler, because no regular buyer or renter is going to buy it unless it's pretty. Number 12. All right, number 12, off-market properties. These are properties and deals that are not listed. They're not on the MLS. They're not currently for sale, quote unquote, on the MLS. Now, they might be for sale, like a realtor might be working, like someone might talk to a realtor and say, hey, I want a buyer for my property, but it's not actually on the MLS, so nobody knows it's for sale. These, the real investors won't care about this, whether a property's off-market or not. And a lot of times when a cash buyer, quote unquote, a cash buyer, somebody who's going to buy cash, says, I need only off-market properties. What they're really saying is that they're going to take the property that you send them and they're going to try and wholesale it again. They're going to try to do daisy chaining stuff. They're just going to try to waste your time. You don't need off-market properties. You can make plenty of money with just on-market properties. You don't need to find off-market properties. And the more someone you're talking to is focusing on them, the more that you should move on, because when you do, or if you do, I should say, if you do find an off-market property, normally it's going to take a lot more work to bring that to the, a lot more work to bring it to the market, especially in the case of vacant land deals like Raj. We just did a class that did a video on Raj. He was just going over some of this stuff yesterday. You guys, it was the cost of, what was the cost? It cost them real money. It was farm. They had farm equipment. They had to move. They had to get tractors and combines and plows, and all these costs really add up. So this was technically an off-market deal, but it cost thousands of dollars extra to get all this equipment off of it before they could move it. So you have to factor that in, because the first investor they talked to was just trying to do that daisy chain and stuff, was just trying to move it. They're acting like a cash buyer. They really aren't one. That's why they want off-market property, so they can mark it up to whatever they want. The second buyer was a real buyer, and that's why, if somebody kept on focused on the off-market, move on, don't focus on them, because the second buyer was a good buyer. But the point is that there's a lot of like really farm equipment, heavy, intensive work that it took to get that property ready, to move that vacant. That was a vacant land deal, but still, it took a lot of work to get it ready. Speaking of which, by the way, how do you get a country girl's attention? Oh no, how do you get a country girl's attention? A tractor. Come on, man. Come on. That was a good one. You know what? I had another one. I was going to tell you a time traveling joke, but you guys didn't like it. All right, number 13, daisy chain wholesaling. Oh my goodness. This is usually illegal when multiple investors try to wholesale the same deal. Generally, everyone's just adding a fee. It's just a mess. A big CF, as the kids would say. This is generally for LCs who want to charge people for just adding nothing. If you think about it, let's say there's 5 ads on a property. If you call one of them, you're paying $10,000 more than they're $15,000 more. These guys don't know what they're doing. This is something you want to stay away from. We almost always suggest not doing deals like this. A JV is okay with somebody that you know and that you have a relationship with, but for the most part, this is just, you go on Facebook, get online, anywhere, you're going to see 100 violations of the law. This is why it's interesting, because right now we're in this transition period. There is much needed regulation coming to the world of wholesaling. So many people in this world are about as necessary as a kickstand on a tank. Your role and everybody's role in a transaction should be clear. It should be super obvious and super beneficial to everybody involved. All with these wholesalers, they're like, what do you laugh? What was the kickstand on the tank? Did I get you? You like that one? Oh, I got plenty more like that. The average wholesaler is about as useful as a chocolate teapot. They're about as useful as a straw in the desert. About as helpful as Captain Hook's second glove. I'm not saying they're useless. I'm just saying they're the inflatable dartboard of real estate. Okay. I kid. The wholesalers, they have their place. A good one, it's like with anything. A good one is priceless. And it's up to you to not find them, but to create them. Remember, at BRRRR.com, it isn't about finding the extraordinary. It's about creating it. Take the ordinary and create the extraordinary. Number 14, assignable or non-assignable deal. When you write an offer, it may or may not come with the ability for you to allow an investor or anything to step in, or anybody else to step in your shoes to complete the transaction. It's kind of like a handout. That's an assignment. There are many banks and others that may make the offer non-assignable. There's still a lot of ways to assign non-assignable deals. We have classes on this. You can check them out. Go to BRRRR.com. So even if they do make it non-assignable, you can still assign them. We have resources and all sorts of really cool stuff on that. So yes, you can. We've gone over this many times. You really can. We have a class on how to assign the impossible deals, no matter what the banker tells you. Banker, I barely know it. No matter what they say. Yes, you can still assign deals. Number 15. How many, where are we? Okay, number 15. 1 and 2% houses. This is really important. This tells you what percentage of the value the home will currently rent for. So, for example, a 2% house means a $40,000 house rents for $800, right? 2% of $40,000 is $800. And a $40,000 house basically is the maximum price you're going to find for a 2% house. There's very few markets in the U.S. with 2% houses. There are some 3% houses. We don't talk about those because those are basically meth labs and it's not something you want to be involved with. So it's 1 to 2%. There are solid 2% real legitimate investment properties and opportunities. Go to the Indiana State Fairgrounds. We have made that place famous. You can go check that out. There's a lot there. And 2% houses are usually going to be in C plus areas, and they have basically no appreciation. Go check the Indy State Fairgrounds. Like I said, you'll see properties there that have been there for years and years and years. They've sold for the exact same price. 2% houses, 1% houses. When you talk to your investors, you talk to your cash buyers, make sure you get a sense of what they want to do. Do they want to buy? Do they want to buy and hold? Do they want to buy and flip, or whatever they want to do? You can use this number, the 1 to 2%, as part of their strategy, and make sure you get them the best deal possible, the best deal imaginable. Nobody talks about this stuff or takes care of people this way. You need to. You're trained by me, and I will not allow you to be an LC. Do the right thing. Number 16, 50% rule for renters. This rule says that about 50% of a property's rent will be eaten by various costs, right? So no matter what you're getting in that property, if a property rents for $1,000 a month, the owner will only get about $500 a month. And this usually lasts for the first 3 to 5 years. This 50% cost will be for the first 3 to 5 years. Make sure that your investors are prepared for this. Go over the numbers with them and make sure that they're ready to know and ready to pay for about 50%. It's going to go to various costs. It's going to be upkeep, maintenance, repairs, whatever. Something's going to come up. They should be ready for that. So whether you're the manager or not, you want to make sure your investor knows what to expect from what they are getting in rent versus what they're actually going to take home. It can be much different from what a renter actually pays. Renter, I barely know her. Why do I keep doing that? I need to stop. They need to know what the 50% rule is. Number 17, the BRRRR strategy or method. We've done a whole class on this. It stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. We did a class, like I said, you should check that out. There's an investor guide just like this. By the way, this whole guide you can download for free. You should know this stuff inside and out. You should be able to go what we call accelerated acquisition for your buyers and sellers and all your investors. If they want to do a lot more deals really quickly, you can help them do this. What is that a picture of? Oh, it's ice. Oh, BRRRR, I get it. Oh, that's quite clever. I like that. BRRRR. All right, so BRRRR strategy. Know what that is. Go through my class and go through our class on that and you'll love it. It's cool stuff. All right. Number 18. All right, proof of funds. This is proof of funds. It shows people that you have money. If you need one, get with us. loveitbigria.com. Get with us. We can help you get that. Call, email Anna 317-969-5619. We can get you a proof of funds. It's a document that's printed and provided by your bank to verify a bank balance and a history. Sometimes I need to provide 3 months of bank statements, like a hard money lender or something like that. They need this stuff. We can help you with this. There's many companies that will provide this for purchases and approvals, also with transaction funding. If you need that stuff, let us know. We also have classes on that. Check it out. Good stuff. Number 19, the Forever Fund. This might be the most important number, the most important one on this entire list. Why are you not making 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month, or 30 grand a month? Why is the average person not doing that? This is why. This is the amount of money needed to create a target passive income of $30,000 a month, for example. So if you have $6 million at 5%, most people think that 5% is a pretty doable number, 5% a year. So if you use 5% a year, that means you need $6 million at 5%. That would be $300,000 a year, for example, almost 30 grand a month. So we use that 5% ROI and we just adjust the amount that you need in your Forever Fund. This is money that you could live off of forever. You could live off of half of it, reinvest the other half, whatever. Never touch the actual core balance. You should know what this number is. Whatever your number, how much money do you want to make? You want to make 20 grand a month? You want to make $200,000 a year? Because if you want to make $200,000 a year at 5%, what does that tell you? You need $4 million. So that's your scoreboard. That's what every day you should look up and see, what am I doing right now to create that $4 million worth of assets? That produces 5%. It doesn't have to be cash, and you can create business equity really quick. There's ways to come up with, to get that number real quick at light speed, but you should know what that number is. At first, just think of it as cash, and then later on we can talk about how to do this. But with every one of your investors, you want to come up with this number. Every one of our cash buyers, everybody we work with, we come up with this number, and then we work backwards. Because every conversation we have, we talk about their Forever Fund. How close are we to that? How does what we're doing today fit into that? I have a cousin that I've talked to you guys about, and if you ask anybody, and this is not a big secret, if you ask Elon Musk, if you want any of his time, if you want to talk to him, I want any of his attention, there's one question you need to answer. He says he wakes up, this is the top question he asks. Any project, every day, no matter what he's doing or what you're doing with him, what he's doing like with other companies or interviews or anything, this is the top question on his mind. How is what we're doing right now going to get us closer to the first colony on Mars? That's his question, and then he works backwards from that. The Forever Fund is something like that. It's one of those top item things that you want to work backwards from, okay? So you want to, with all your, you yourself, just do the math real quick. You can do it right now. In the time that I've been explaining this, just do the math. And now you have a goal. You're much closer to getting there just by having it named, right? It's really pretty powerful. This kind of relationship building is the most important factor in your business building, because this number is a number that you will know and nobody else in the world will know. They won't care enough to even talk to him about it. The Forever Fund, it's really important. Forever, I barely know her. I need to stop. It doesn't even work, Ozim. What are you talking about? Number 20, hard money lender, private money lenders. These are really important. We've been doing some classes on this because, there's stuff to learn here. You want to understand the details of this, but for right now, just understand what they are, right? That's good enough. So we made several videos and classes on both private money lenders and hard money lenders. You can check them out for more on this. The main difference is who sets the rules. You'll always prefer private money because you dictate the terms. There's an old joke here. It's what's the difference between private money and hard money? About 5%, 6%, 7%, right? That's a difference because who sets the terms? One of the most profitable things you can do is borrow private money and lend it out as hard money. That's essentially how the entire banking system, the entire Federal Reserve works. They get money at one price and they loan it out at another price, and they don't even get that money. Really, you create that money when you create a loan. Read The Creature from Jekyll Island. Bonkers stuff going on. Bonkers stuff. Wake up, sheeple. Combine this with the Forever Fund, and this is how you create levels of financial freedom. And each one of those levels has a corresponding highly specific dollar amount assigned to each level. There's levels to this shit, right? You need to have protection and layers of immunity. Layer. I barely know her. Okay, that one finally works. Awesome. You need to stop. I know. I need to stop. All right, that was 20. Number 21, double closings and simultaneous closings. You do not ever need to do a double closing to hide your profit. People that do this are LCs, and they have refused. They have failed to build a solid relationship with their buyer, with their investor, and because of that, they're going to pay at every turn because of this. Instead, focus on building better relationships. Do not do double closings to, I don't want them to know how much money I make. They should be thrilled. They're doing jumping jacks at how much money you make because they know you're doing such a great job for your people and for the causes and for the earth and for humanity. Make sure you don't be like that. In the times where you may want to close twice, you can make sure that you're doing this and not paying 2 cents of closing costs or money costs. There's ways to do that. We've talked about this. Make sure you build your team and they know how to do this. Get with us if you want to do this, and we can walk you through this. But really, you don't need to do double closings or to hide your profit. You may want to do this for other reasons. Okay, and also check out our resources on using money twice. But you know what? I don't recommend doing the simultaneous closing anymore. If anything that's weird, don't do it. And if there is a double closing that you have to do, make sure that you have your buyer and your seller pay for half and half. And this shouldn't be a problem. Talk with me, go over the details, and we'll make sure that we'll take care of you. This is not something. The number one reason people do the double closings is because they don't want people to know how much they make. And it's crazy because you know what you're really doing? You're just delaying it. And nothing gets their curiosity more stroked than you not wanting to know something, right? If I just, if you say anything, if I meet you for lunch and I'm like, don't look at my trunk, what do you want to do, right? It's like, don't do this. All right, number 22, days on market. This is how long a property has been on the market. This tells you how long a property's been listed, right? Listed like on the MLS. It's a measure of a market's appetite for the property and the property's value and pricing. This is an important number, or it's a number, but it tells you how many days it is. So it's a length of time. By staying on top of this number, you'll be the first to notice and react to market changes and pricing differences. This affects all CMA and COMPs, multiple listings. If people like take their property off the market and put it back on, you want to know that, you want to see that, you will with something like the MLS or other services like consumer services like PropStream. Even Zillow has this sometimes for free, but they don't always have this information. The other places will have this information, and it's really important. So be trained, get trained, because you should be able to move any property in less than 30 days with signs, ads, and your buyer's list. If it takes you longer than that, then you made a mistake. It's okay. I mean, you can still move deals in 60 or not 30 or 60 or 90 days and still make money, but usually you should be able to move them within 30 days. So you want to know the days on market because this really tells a lot about the skill of the realtor, the pricing, and also the situation with the owner, with the seller, their motivation, their level of where they're at mentally. The days on market will tell you in 1 second so much information, and I can tell you just looking at a listing, I can tell in seconds and tell you exactly how many days it's been on the market. How can I do that? I don't know. I didn't ask for these powers. Also, it's always going to be written on the bottom right of the MLS sheet. Number 23, cap rate, NOI, and GRM. So the cap rate, the capitalization rate, if you paid cash for this property, this is what the cap rate tells you. If you paid cash for the property, what percentage of your money would you make back in the first year? So a $1 million property at the cap rate of 10% would be making $100,000 a year. It's very easy to figure out from that calculation, right? You just take the NOI, the net operating earnings, and divide it by the actual purchase price. So NOI, net operating income, or the cash flow. If you take this number and divide it by the value, you get the cap rate, right? So the GRM is also the gross rent. So if you take the rent times 12, you get $1,000. If the rent's $1,000 a month, you take that times 12 and you get $12,000 GRM, gross rent multiplier. So determine the value of any property or business. You need two of these three things. You need the cap rate, the NOI, the net operating income, and or the value. This is how you can determine anything, whether it's a business or whether it's a property or anything. This is how you do it. Now, I've gone over this many times. Check out, what do we have? The science class. What was another good one that you went through for this? We have another one, the ABM, the asset brokering model. We have other classes where I talk a lot about this. I know I said the Forever Fund is the most important one. Understanding what these numbers are isn't the most important. I guess the Forever Fund is more important, but the way to get to your Forever Fund is to understand that cap rate, y'all. If you can adjust that cap rate, when you can adjust the value of a business going up and down, the world is your oyster. Number 24, PSA, purchase agreement or purchase and sale agreement. I made a video for years ago. It's 3 to 4 hours. I walked every blank on a purchase agreement in multiple states, multiple counties. This is easy stuff. The purchase agreement, you'll be using this a lot and you should know every line of it. You should go through it real quickly in seconds. Nobody will have any questions as long as they trust you and you've done a good job building a relationship. They'll sign whatever you give them. They'll sign away their firstborn. Once they trust you and you build that relationship, they'll sign it and it's not going to be an issue. But you should get clear on this. So you really want, they're all pretty much going to be the same, but you should be super clear on this. We have classes that we're doing on this to get you clear, so you can go over those and check them out. Think of a purchase agreement. Basically, all this is instructions for your title company. Whenever I looked at it like that, it was really easy, because when you start going real fast, you want to do deals real quick, just tell people, go to my title company and pick up your check, and that's all they have to do. Sit there, sign the agreement, and get their check. When you know what you're doing, your experience, that's how quickly you want to be able to move deals. You can get free downloadable copies at BigRia.com/contracts. Number 25, refi cash out. So a refinance can be done. An investor wants to pull the cash out of an investment. They refinance it at the 80% LTV or whatever. They pull out cash. This doesn't need to be repeated like with BRRRR. They can just get cash out and they can rent it out. They don't have to keep going. They can just, maybe it's a good deal. We just had an investor. What was the numbers he went on? We did a class. He did $61,000 total all in, and it was renting for like $1,000 or $1,200 a month or something like that. So they refinanced it. He pulled out like $80,000, $90,000 or whatever the value was. I'm not sure what it was. Whatever it was in the class, I don't have the numbers in front of me, and you don't know. So he ended up getting like $16,000 that he walked away from cash with, like $17,000. It is a loan, but he walked away from cash, or he walked away from closing with cash, and now the renter is paying for it. But this is something you want to know. For any deal, your investor, you want to let them know what the refi rate's going to be. What's the LTV going to be? Say, like, if you bought this property and you refinanced it at 80%, for example, this is how much cash you would get. Here's what the market rent is. Just give them this option, not the whole BRRRR. Maybe they just refinance it and rent it out. You need to know that this is an option for all investors. Some people just do this exclusively. They just buy a house once or twice a year and they refinance it. You should know what that refinance rate's going to be and what the cash out amount's going to be. How much cash will they get out? How much above the all-in cost is that? And what would the market rent be? And then how well would that market rent cover or be a surplus above and beyond what that refinance payment's going to be? Maybe the investor, a lot of times, will tell them to get a line of credit on their house, and maybe they use that. These are things you should be more familiar with and you should understand as you work with investors and work with more deals. Number 26, driving for dollars. A lot of people talk about this. It's just driving around and finding deals. This can be jogging, walking, doing anything. It's scouting neighborhoods, looking for potential deals. When you know what you're doing, every time you leave, you can actually make money and come back with deals. It's easy, it's fun, it's profitable. It's just really good time. We've had some videos on this and how to train your bird dogs to use signs to get more deals. You can train your army of people going out there. There's a whole bunch of apps. There's apps that you can use for this: Deal Machine, Batch Driven, Sales Driver, Paleo, Profit Drive, and so many others. These have different costs, different prices, there's some that are good, some that are not so great. The main thing is that if you're going to be doing this, you want to do this with regularity. Get out there, talk to people, talk to neighbors especially. Use our other policies with signs and leave behinds that can really make a big difference. You can train your bird dogs and have them go out and bring you $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 a month without really doing a whole lot. Number 27, gold and silver flips. This is something we've been doing for a while now. These are classes of real estate flips that we do. So we have the gold and silver. We don't have a bronze. A bronze is when we tried a gold or silver and it didn't work out. A gold flip basically is 30, 50 grand, maybe $100,000 plus. $100,000 plus flip anywhere in the Midwest is like it's a rare thing, not so common with single family residential. 30 to 50 is kind of our gold flip. Silver flip is 20 to 30 grand. On the coast, you're going to be 100 grand, no problem. That's on average, but on any of the coasts or the major markets. But it takes more time. It also has much more cost involved usually as well. So a bronze flip is anything less than a silver. So intelligence is categorizing. Knowing what these categories are, the name of them, it can help you put these deals together. Okay, now it is time for bonus shizzle. This is the 7 things that we're going to do. 7 steps to make your first $100,000 a month as a wholesaler. Okay, so 7 big secrets to making $100,000 a month as a wholesaler. Remember to go through my success stories. They're unlike anything you've ever seen. And I say that because people always ask me, how do you guys find such badass people? And like I've said, now this is the 3rd time I've said it in this class, it isn't about finding them, it's about creating them. Build your nobody mountain, create the standards, set your policies in place, make sure you come with passion, go through that destiny diagram, be where you're supposed to be so that it's fun, enjoyable. It's a game to put in so much effort, resources, and brilliance into your business that nobody can compete with you. Okay, so 7 things. Number 1, do a GXM. Pick an investor, a realtor, a contractor, anybody, and if you're starting out, just volunteer to help them with the transaction so that you can see it all from start to finish. Throughout each step, do what you can to help them market, screen, and communicate with buyers and sellers. Although you won't make money from this, and you're doing this on purpose, not making money, you'll make new friends and insider contacts who now owe you a favor. Number 2, go deep with each relationship. Make sure you have a beautiful conversation. You can go through our other stuff. We talk so much about this for hours and hours and hours. It's a single most important profitable skill you'll have. Your dialogue, your compliance. This is all what a beautiful conversation is all about. Get to know each buyer, each investor, and seller on a deep level. Know their 3 whys, their forever fun goals, their ideal outcomes, not just from each deal, but from life in general. Get to the memento mori stuff, man. Also, part of this is to work with each investor and come up with a schedule of asset acquiring so it's never just one deal, and start saying up front, I only work with people that I'm going to work with for 10 years, that I see myself working with for 10 years or more. And then you get in their A pile, meaning whenever you text, email, or voicemail them, they just immediately open it up. You send them anything, they tear it open like a crackhead on meth. It starts with your dialogue. Focus on that. It's the same reason I tell couples to go to the gym together. Don't you want your relationship to work out? Come on. Or you could just say, I could have said, you're lucky I didn't say this. Are you a carbon sample? Because no. Why am I asking that? Because I want to date you. They could have said that. They could have said that. It could only get worse. Just when you thought we hit rock bottom, it can only get worse. Number 3, the public Rolodex model. This is pretty brilliant. Build your teams and become a connector. Start building the teams necessary to go through each phase of the deal, right? You want to have realtors, contractors, hard money people, private money people, everybody else, so you can walk an investor through every single phase of the project, of everything. From concept to closing, you can walk them through everything. This is a great compliance move because now whenever you talk to people, you say, I'm building a list of recommended blank, recommended contractors, recommended whatever, and the people always want to be on that list because you're telling them I'm building a list of that I share with everyone I talk to, and they know you're talking to people because you're talking to them. If you want to see an example of this, go to BRRRR.com/people for an example. In the first 3 weeks, she had, over 20 testimonials, and now people are fighting to be included on that list. You know what it's like, Shannon? You know what it's like? It's like a graveyard because people are dying to get in. We share it with everybody. So anytime she talks to somebody, anytime that you guys are using this as well, anytime you guys talk to somebody, you let them know about this list, the people go there and they can use it. It's like a mini phone book. It's like a Rolodex. But every time you go there, you're actually getting promoted yourself and you're also helping promote other people. It's like exactly what we should be doing as entrepreneurs. There are a few investors who just in this last week brokered hard money loans. All they're doing is going to that page. They're finding deals with contacts on that page and then brokering it to hard money people on that page. How cool is that? I mean, think about how many investors. There's other investors that did their first deal just by going through the Rolodex, right? There's, there's like a dozen or so testimonials they've got that have done their first deal. I mean, think about how cool that is. People are using your Rolodex to do their deals. And all you're doing is making that list available. You're making that list and then sharing it with the people you talk to. It's easy breezy. And by the way, I'm also going to include below the exact email that we use that we send to potential listings that people are talking to below. So check that out. This is killer. We also give folks a special class on how they can use the Rolodex page to do deals. Nobody does this. It's a nobody mountain. It really helps with everything. Number 4, walk your investors through every part of the deal. The rehab, the listing, the sale, the rent. Even if you're not making money, just follow up and make sure you do that well with them because you want to be able to take them by the hand and you're also building your Rolodex as you're helping them find a good contractor, help them find a good rehab guy, help them find a good general contractor, help them find a good property manager, whatever. You're taking them by the hand and walking through each phase of the deal. Even if you're not making money, that only helps the relationship even more because they know you're not making money, but you're also building your Rolodex as well. You're growing your influence. Number 5, immediately market the property. This is the single biggest mistake I would say that wholesalers make. They don't have end users in any of these areas. You want to immediately market any property. You want to build a lender agent model as soon as you have a property, as soon as it looks like you're going to get one. Immediately go to other realtors with properties, other for sale by owners, other houses for rent, other property managers, and just do a GXM. Just market their properties just to get a sense of what the buyers and renters, what kind of calls and leads you're getting. If nothing else, get the lender agent model going so you're making money outside of that property, right? You want to build a lender agent model at least, but it also does the same thing for renters as well. No matter what market you're in, start marketing for renters. Get an idea of the quality of renters. This one thing will determine market value more than anything else. This one source of leads, what people are willing to buy and rent for a property tells you the value more than anything else. People will always say that a market is overpriced or it's underpriced or something. You always hear stuff like that, but the market never lies. A property is worth exactly what people are willing to pay for it. And by being an active marketer in that market, you always know what buyers are paying for right now. You always know right now what the market's saying. You'll be able to say right now for sure we know where the market is and where it's going based on this real life data that we're getting. It's a secret weapon that allows you to do and see deals that others don't. Remember, with the flip, you can go through my money class on this. We talk about the velocity of money, the velocity of circulation, because you need to keep money moving. That's a secret to wealth, the secret to generational wealth. Make money. Money's always moving nonstop. The people who make the most are the ones who tell it where to go. Don't go where money is, tell it where to go. Keep it moving. And the best way to ensure that you're moving money, that you're keeping that velocity of circulation going is to have a solid buyer's list. Time is money, and the faster a property can move, it's like hot potato with these investors. Help them move that property and they will never work with anyone else ever again. Number 6, you must start screening companies and businesses. Remember the Empire Formula. It's really simple. Build your businesses to get up to 10, 30 grand a month. Every business is like a little oil well. This is like your punching bag. Real estate's like your punching bag. Get this started. Pick up other companies. Use your real estate business, your real estate wholesaling business as a company that picks up other companies. It's like a magnet. Use your real estate business as leverage to pick up other businesses and companies. Go through my other stuff on this. You really need to get clear on this because this is all about picking up companies, and it's not buying real estate. You want to own companies. This is what I said earlier, the stuff that we've developed and the stuff that we've come up with, man, it's just amazing. These guys have invented, we've come up with some of the most amazing stuff in the world. You really really want to really just sink your teeth into it. I'm going to include a basic script below that we use to start these conversations with companies because it's really important that you start picking up companies. This is the difference. The reason why people you go to the inner city or any place that is where there's poverty anywhere, even in your own situation, like your own personal poverty, anything. The reason you don't have the money you want is what we said with the Forever Fund. You don't own enough shit. You don't have enough equity, ownership, control. That's what you need, and you need it in businesses. Use your skill as a business builder, as an entrepreneur, as leverage. And it starts with screening businesses. So if nothing else, start screening companies. I have a script below that you can use. We also have a voicemail, I think, or an email below that you can use. This is exactly the one that you guys are using right now, right? This is one you guys, I had live. Whenever I do this, I say, send me what you're sending right now. Send me what you're using right now, and that's what we're including below. For free, what a guy. Number 7, volunteer. Man, this is what makes the world go round. This is what it's all about. Develop the business building skills you need to help other people, to help yourself and then others. Otherwise, what's the point, right? It's like the blood cells, the 2 blood cells who meet and fall in love. It's all in vain. What? Come on. Okay. So to recap, we're almost done here. First, do a GXM. Second, go deep. 3, build your Rolodex. Allow others to use it. 4, walk your investors through everything. 5, immediately market. Build your lender agent model so you can do it. 6, you got to screen companies. 7, volunteer. Build your volunteer army. This is the exact framework that we have heroes doing easily, going from 0 to 100 grand a month. It ain't that difficult, man. Do things right, and it's not that difficult. Less than 20 hours a week. Here's some line from, what's this? Eminem. Some brilliance from Eminem, who said, this was Kate who said this to me earlier. I used to play the loser victim till I saw the way Proof was driven. Proof was a friend of Eminem's who's dead. I used to play the loser victim till I saw the way Proof was driven. I found my vehicle and I haven't ran out of gas yet. When they stack decks to turn handicaps into assets. Even if time was on my side, I'd still have none to waste. Because that dream is just so much fun to chase. It's gotta be fun to chase. It lets you turn handicaps into assets. Remember, as always, lastly here, your life is a perfect sculpture of your thoughts. You guys, I love you so much. Go to BigRia.com. I hope this helped you get your wholesaling business going. We love you guys. Thank you so much. BigRia.com. Thank you so much. I love you. BigRia.com. I love you guys. Thanks. We'll talk soon. Thanks.